You having fun? Heavy stuff, green jersey stuff. Huh? Trash. Trash. Ah. I got trash over there. What? I got one. Okay, I'm thinking. Yo, you can use a little pistol, dude.
I was playing
You, no, in the campaign you can use a little tiny pistol, did you know that?
yeah, I know.
Yo, it's so weird. The way you reload, it's so weird.
Yes, I switched to. All I did, I was just like, it'd be like,
It's a fun game. It's a
whoa,
good
Sam! Go back. Turn. Snap again.
It's a good
He was
game.
like, what's going on? Snipe him again. Wasting rounds on Germans.
I go on and on.
Cold in here. These are weird.
You didn't make it, you little nut.
Yes, it did.
No, you didn't.
It did.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see the other one. This is the colors I like.
You can either flip it and land it on the cap or the bottom.
Too much.
Color trash.
Not much. Really water here. It's
Yeah,
like
but
a
you're trash.
here. And it's hard to do on this. Look at that. That's hard to do.
No, you're trash. It's almost like every other one, all that
If I had a
adapting.
different one, I'll back it. Where did you play that? Battlefield?
What?
Play Battlefield?
Haven't yet.
Oh.
Really?
It came out today, didn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, if
So,
you
My
prefer the-
PS4 downloaded it like 7 days ago, and so it was just doing the countdown timer when I can actually play it. So now it's sitting at home, not played.
I was sitting there, I was like,
Did you play it at midnight last night?
I got home at 7:30, and the dude said it's going to take 3 hours. Only took 30 minutes for me to download it.
So mine downloaded like 4 days ago. My internet connection at home is ridiculously fast. So
Yeah, dude's like, yeah, it takes forever to download. So you probably won't be able to play it tonight. I get home, I plug it in, it's in like 35 minutes, and then it'll be done downloading.
I'm hungry.
we have to do it for lunch. You know?
what are we even eating for
Is
lunch?
it pizza?
Oh, please be pizza. God.
Better be like Casey pizza.
Or I could be clothes.
Oh, it actually might be me though.
Ew. You like needles?
I love them.
I know how you be low.
Let's see. Let's quick check what our lunch menu is.
Hey, Mr. Ward, instead of doing work, we have like a chill day.
Man,
Oh, you got a chill day yesterday. All right. Chicken fajitas today with salsa, fruit cup, some type of salads with chips. All right, there you go. So,
We did that.
all right. And game night is at Osage. So, at Osage. Nope, no more home games. It's game night. It's already done. So.
Unless 2 teams lose, then we're back in the playoffs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're on the wild card right now. So if we win, we have to have 2 teams lose.
I always hate that the district we're in because we can have almost an undefeated season and somebody that makes playoffs at one out of 6 games. I hate that. That system is totally broken.
I feel like Osage is only 1-7. That's really,
That'll help us. At least we gotta get a win tonight.
yeah.
All right. So, section we're going into, or chapter I should say, we're going into chapter 3. Okay. Chapter 3 is based on fractions. So our goal today is to intro what fractions are. Okay, that's our goal today. Now, over the entire chapter, we're going to start learning things about fractions, like how to add them, how to subtract them, how to multiply, how to divide. This is the part that most people hate. They hate it. They can't remember it. I'm going to try to make sure that it's easy for you. So our goal today is to look at fractions, and the first step today is to learn how to simplify them. That's it. Just how do you simplify fractions when it's not written correctly, and how to do it by hand versus how to do it on a calculator. So you have both. Okay, so that's kind of our goal today. So the first step, we're going to intro what fractions are. Introduce them. We're going to do an introduction to what fractions are. We're going to do a bunch of vocab terms with that. So not a bunch, but just a few. So we definitely have vocabulary. And then our goal after doing the vocab terms is to look at how to simplify fractions. I mean that takes a little while to learn like different strategies, especially with calculators. I can show you like the shortcut for a calculator how to do that. So that's something that I definitely want you to know. Like just having that skill where you can actually type it correctly in a calculator, that's nice to have. Okay? Alright, so does everyone understand what we're going into today? Now, just a reminder, if you owe me any late work or missing assignments or something, it's due by today. Okay? Because otherwise I don't grade it. Today's the end of the quarter. So after school today is your last chance to turn in things you owe me for the first quarter. Okay? Alright, let's do a quick introduction. Let's talk about fractions. So, intro. Okay, a fraction. It is a ratio. That is the key term there. Now, if you don't know what a ratio is, maybe you don't remember from, 7th grade or 8th grade math. Ratio is just a big fancy way of saying it's a comparison of two numbers using division. Comparison of two numbers using division. That's what it is. That's why most people don't like fractions. Number one, they don't like division. So I'm going to try to show you different strategies you can use today to at least do one part of fractions, how to simplify them. Obviously, the goal of the chapter is to learn how to add them, how to subtract them, how to multiply, divide, how to write, mixed numbers to improper to mixed numbers, that type of thing. That's like the goal of the entire chapter that we're in. So we'll learn little pieces slowly by slowly. We'll learn how to apply them to actual problems, like real life story problems, that type of thing. Okay, so questions on how this works? So what I want to talk about first, the actual fraction bar itself. So I'm just doing a brief introduction, right? So this is what most people know as a fraction. Fraction bar. Now, what is that fraction if you say it out loud? 1/2 or half. However you want to pronounce it. Okay?
Well, if it was 1/2, does that mean that the 1 is like 2 out of 5?
Like a mixed number, they would say 1 and a half. So they put the word and in there. So there's a big difference there. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Okay, so this is 1/2 or 1 and 1/2. All right. So now, how this works for fractions? The top number on this is called a numerator. The numerator. The bottom number is the denominator.
There's a song about the numerator.
Pretty sure there is. People that try to come up with different strategies to make it easier. Okay, so those are your big fancy words that you'll hear me use a lot. Numerator versus denominator. There's other words you can use. The top is known as the dividend, and I'll explain that one here in a minute. We've already had that word, by the way. We talked about dividend, and the bottom one is the divisor. And that's about as simple as I can explain it. Okay, so numerator, dividend, divisor. Or top and bottom, however you want to say it. Now, how that works, like what a fraction, what this is looking like. Fractions can be written in different ways, like as a ratio. Ratios can be written like this. They can be written where the fraction bar is like sideways. It's still the same fraction, it's still half. You'll see that with math testing or IPS testing. They'll write fractions in different ways to see if they can mess with you. It's still the same fraction. A lot of you are always used to like the vertical bar, but they could write it as kind of like a diagonal slash. They could write it like this. It's a ratio. It's using colon method. Colon method, right? it's the same idea, right? That it's just a fraction. It's a 1 over 2. That's what you're doing. Now, why I call them the dividend and divisor? Why did I name that? Because if you look at the definition here of what a fraction is, it's literally comparing these two numbers using division. And that's where you've actually seen those red words, dividend and divisor. It's actually when we divided with long division. Okay, so in long division, if you don't remember, it was using the house. This is long dividing. Right? It's using the house method. The number on the inside, this number was the dividend, whatever that number is, and the number on the outside over here is the divisor. I mean, that's what you're doing. So this is the numerator, that's the denominator. That's the idea. That's where I put the number. So if I was doing this problem, like if I was trying to set up that fraction into a house, this is what it would look like. The 1 goes on the inside, the 2 goes on the outside. That's why when you have fractions, it gives you decimals. That's why. Why that thing is a decimal point is because this is how you set it up. 2 doesn't go into the number 1. It literally goes in there 0 times. So 2 times 0 is 0. When you subtract, you have to bring the next couple numbers down. So the numbers behind the number 1, like 1.000. There's an infinite number of zeros back here if you need them. But you bring down the next 0. So 2 can go into 10 how many times?
No.
5. 2 times 5 is 10. And when you subtract, you finally get your remainder, and I don't need any of these other zeros. And this decimals went straight up. That's why it's important to put all the zeros and everything above. Because that's what that fraction is. The fraction half, 1/2, right, however you want to say that, is literally 0.5 on a calculator screen. That's what they simplified it as, because it knows to do long division and how to move the decimal point up and drop numbers down and put zeros behind. It's programmed to do everything. Okay, now, that's not our goal today. Our goal, I don't want to change fractions to decimals. That's not the goal today. Our goal is to look at fractions and understand what are they telling you. Like, what is that object? Okay, like as a graph, what is it? Not to go to decimals. Decimals comes later because I know a lot of people do not like decimals. I understand that. So we're going to avoid those for right now. Okay? So, for numerator-denominator idea, this idea of fractions, we can do it graphically. Like, to actually do a drawing of it, a sketch of what a fraction represents. So, like, if I gave you the example was half over there, what this literally means is that you have, if you had a pan of brownies, and they're breaking up into 2, there's just 2 brownies in that small pan you have. There's only 1 left. So this one's missing. Well, maybe that's the only one that's left. I don't know what color you have. So there's 1 out of the 2 that is left. There's the other one. Maybe this one was already eaten. So you have 1 out of 2. Does that make sense? Like graphically, you can do like the idea of a pan of brownies. You can do like a pizza. Like you have 1 huge piece left out of the pizza versus the other half which is gone. 1 out of 2 whole pieces were left. And how this works is that the 2 pieces are the same size. That's why when I do my pan brownies, they're the same size. Or that one, if I did the pizza, there's 2 same pieces. It's not like 2 different sizes. That's how fractions work. Okay, so I don't care if you go like the little bar idea, bars versus a pie graph kind of thing. Okay, but what about if I gave you the number? What if I gave you 3/5? How would you draw that? How do you draw that? And the shade, when you draw that, I want you to shade the 3. Shade the 3. So the 3 that are left. Okay.
So, it is the plus and everyone.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay, so let's try to draw this one because I want to see it. So 3/5. See if you draw a graphical drawing of what 3/5 actually represents. Then I want to talk about it. All right, so here's the thing. I saw a lot of people did the bar graph idea. They did the pan and brownies, which is correct. They did their pan and brownies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they had 3 left. So here's my big long strips of brownies. Here's the weird Kit Kat kind of a thing. So there's 3 left, right, out of the 5. That drawing is correct. Why is it correct?
Because you only have 2 left and there's
3 left out of 5, right? Makes sense, right? This drawing that I saw is not correct. That's not correct. Now why? Yeah, they're not the same size. That's a huge deal. They're not the same size pizza. Hey, you just told me that half the pizza is the same as 3 out of 5 pieces left. Not quite. Okay, so for you to do the pizza graph, or somehow, if you're going to do the pie graph idea, you need to make sure that all 5 pieces are the exact same size. I have no idea how you can do that. About as close as I can get. Is that 4? It's 4. How? Further than it looks. Okay, there. So 5 pieces, if they're all the same size, then you can shade in 3 of them. Right? If they're somehow, they have to be the same size. So it's not quite half a pizza, it's a little bit less than half a pizza left over. That's the idea, that's what I'm trying to get to. That's the big deal. Like fractions, the bottom number has to be evenly spaced. One of the interesting things I saw was this. An interesting way to think of it. What an interesting way to think about a fraction. 3 out of 5 pieces are left. So like what that would represent to me if I was looking at it, it's like a cupcake pan. You have 3 cupcakes left out of the 5. That's an interesting way to do it. I didn't even think of that. A cupcake pan where you have just the pieces of it. Now they're the same cupcakes, but you only have 3 out of 5 left. That's an interesting way to do it. Okay, do you see that you can do it different ways? Okay, so now, our goal here, like for the rest of this time, is to learn how to simplify a fraction. How we can take fractions that are bigger and make them more manageable. So I don't have to draw 50 pieces. I don't want to draw something with 50 parts to it. I want to learn how to do something that's a lot smaller than 50. So that's what I want to look at. Okay? So, take a look at something like this. We agree those are big numbers, like compared to what we just were doing. There's no way I want to draw a picture with 75 little markers in it. I don't want to do that. It's too big. It's too hard to do that. So what we're allowed to do, what you should always attempt to do if it's possible, is simplify the fraction down. Simplify it first. And now here's how you can do this. There's a couple different ways. I'll show you kind of the different strategies some people use, and I'll show you my strategy for how I kind of like, this is how I do it. What some people can do is they can think of numbers that they both have in common. Okay, so for instance, like 50 and 75, what do they both end with? 0 and 5, right? So what is that number divisible by? You can divide them both by 5. That's like a strategy you can use. You can use those divisibility tests. Like, oh, I know 5 goes in because they end with a 0 and a 5, so I'll divide them both by 5. So I get, if I divide the top by 5, if I divide the bottom by 5, I get something like this. Okay? And that's if you actually did your division correctly. Then, what do I notice at the very end? Yeah, they end with a 0 and 5, so I'm going to divide them by 5 again. So divide that by 5. So I'm going to divide 10 by 5, I get 2. Divide 15 by 5, I get 3. That's the same fraction as that. It's the same fraction. It means the same thing. Now you're probably wondering, well, I'd rather have 50 pieces of brownie. out of 75 than 2 out of 3. No, it's you got to get out of your head that I need 75 pieces. It's talking about that you have 2/3 of a pan, the entire pan. It didn't matter if you cut the brownies up really small into 75 little tiny pieces. You have the 2/3 of a pan left. So if here's a whole pan of brownies, if there was the pan was broken up into big 3 strips, you have 2 out of the 3 left. That's way easier to draw than that thing. That's what it's telling you. You could take this 2/3 pan and cut these up into 75 pieces. They'll just be smaller. It's the same drawing. That's what you need to realize. They're just bigger pieces. All right. Does that make sense? Now, I know some people they like that. They like to look at the divisibility test and use that. To me, that can be challenging for some people, because especially if you're no good at division, okay, or you don't know what they have in common, you don't see that. So that's one strategy. You can use those divisibility tests. You can use divisibility tests. That's one way. The second way is actually the one that I prefer. I'm going to put a smaller tropical board so you can see this. So no matter what the fraction is, so let's say I give you 12 out of 18. So this is going to be my new fraction. Right? What I'm going to do is we're going to simplify this fraction down, but not using divisibility tests. We're going to do it by prime factors, prime numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split up the 12 into a bunch of numbers that multiply to give me 12. So think about it this way. So what are 2 numbers you know for a fact multiply to give you 12? 6 and 6 times
6 times
2. Okay, do you agree? 6 times 2 is 12. Break up 6 even further. What is 6 the same as? So 6 is the same thing as what? 3 times 2? That right there, what you just did, was break up 12 really fast. You just broke up 12. Okay? All right, we'll go to lunch. We'll come back. We'll finish this. Lord. Let's see. What are the math?
Oh, how was your hike that lasted only 10 minutes?
I didn't do that. We were playing golf.
You were playing golf. I'm currently playing golf. You only got after like 15 minutes.
And I rage quit because I lost.
Cole was playing Battlefield all day.
Oh yeah. I mean, I should be an archery because I got 2 bullseyes.
I got
Only 3 arrows.
I got all 5 arrows.
No, with only 3 arrows, and I got 2.
I got all 5 arrows in the red, in the yellow.
Hold it, don't too happy.
I'm gonna honestly join archery.
Do you know when it starts?
No.
When the summer is?
Huh.
I think it's the 28th.
I honestly might join it. It's actually fun. Today was the first time we shot a boat. I think I want to energy.
First time?
Yeah.
You didn't shoot in February when you went on a survival field trip?
No, we shot in there that day.
Huh?
I didn't even go there that day. Huh? I didn't even shoot it. Because I couldn't even go like this. Because there's something wrong with the bow that I had. It, like, wouldn't even go this far. And all the ones that here, I just go like,
What kind of bow are you, or what color bow are you using?
I'm using the blue one.
Good.
Alrighty. Let's do a couple notes here. We'll kind of wrap up kind of where we're at. We'll do at least a couple examples.
Nick Martinson, please come to the office. Nick Martinson.
Oh, really?
All right, so I want to do at least a couple examples, show you kind of what to do here. All right, so we left off on this problem like 12 over 18, and not doing divisibility tests, just thinking about like common sense. What are numbers that multiply without thinking about like, okay, oh, that thing's divisible by 5, and then having to resort to using a calculator to figure that out. Now, 18. What numbers multiply to give you 18? Just off the top of your head.
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Okay, I agree with that. 3
4
and 6.
and
And when you have 3 and 6, right? That's the bottom number 18. Break up the 6 even further.
So 3 and 2.
3 and 2. All right. So do you see how fast you can break numbers if you just go to the first ones you think of? Now here, once we're at this point, all you do for 12 over 18 is simplify that thing down. You just cross up numbers that you notice that they have in common. So I notice that they have these 3's in common. They have this 2 in common. And what you're left with is everything that's left. 2/3. Okay, it's the same fraction. Okay. All right. Do you see how that works, though? Now, this is the idea of why, like my tests don't need to be 1,000-point tests. They don't need to be 100-point tests. If I give a test that's worth 18 points, it's the same thing as if it's a 75-question test. And you get 50 on it versus 12 out of 18. You're getting the same score because the way that the fractions simplify, they're the exact same fraction. It does not matter. That's why your score will always be the same no matter what type of point. Because I always have people that, in like layered classes, can you just make this worth a few more points, the test, so that, I can get my grade back up. It makes no difference how many points I make that test worth. You still have to perform on it. You can perform on a smaller test versus a bigger test. It doesn't make any difference. So it's still the same fraction. I just don't understand that concept. All right, now that's what we were doing before lunch, right? How to break these up. Let's do one more. I'm going to have you try it on your own. I want to see what you guys can come up with, and then I want to move on and show you how to use the calculator. So you can do this on just a little Casio calculator or a Texas Instrument. All right, so here's your example I'd like you to try. I'd like you to try to simplify this fraction either by using a divisibility test or by hand, but not using a calculator. No calculator. Okay? All right, so let's go 20 over, let's see. Let's go 30. Not 30. Let's go 35. There we go. I want to make it too easy. All right. So I'd like you to try to simplify this fraction down using any means necessary. I would recommend that you use the process we've been learning here. And then we're going to talk about how you can use technology to help you out with that.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to walk around and I want to check to see how you did it. Remember, break it up as fast as you can and then see what crosses out. That's the way I'd recommend it. So, check.
I'm running.
They're all fast. So, this number was what? 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6. 6 and 5 is 30.
Oh,
All right, what about 20? How do you break it up? What are numbers that multiply to give you 20 right away?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. All right, 4 times 5 is 20. What about 35?
5 and
5 and 7. At this point, you can cross out the 5s and you're done. Because if you break up 4 even further, it doesn't make any difference. Like 4 is 2 times 2, right? And then the bottom doesn't change. So the 5s would cancel out, and you're left with the 2 times 2 on the top, which is 4. Right? And 7's on the bottom. So it doesn't matter if you just cross out the 5s right away and just put 4 over 7. This is the answer. That's what I'm looking for. Okay? Do you notice how quick it is when you start breaking it up? Okay, you only cross out numbers that they have in common. This is the part where, if you're good at multiplying, like you know what things multiply to give you 20, or things that multiply to give you 35, or just common factors, this process can be really simple for you. It really can. Just this process of like crossing out numbers. This is the way that I'd probably recommend it for everyone. It's using prime factorization, as opposed to trying to, okay, they have a 5 in common, then you're taking 50 divided by 5, or 75 divided by 5, and you're like, I don't know what that is. This process is way faster. Okay, where you break it up into smaller numbers. All right, but now let's talk about how to use technology to help us out. Okay, so if you have a calculator, I'd like you to take it out. If you don't, I'm going to give you one here, and hopefully it looks like mine. Perfect.
Yeah, phone.
No, phones don't do these. No, phones can't do calculator, or can't do fractions. That's what a lot of people don't realize. All right. This is the calculator that you should have in front of you right now. Correct? Texas 30X. All right, now let's learn how to type in fractions into this little bad boy. All right, so now obviously this one is non-interacting. This is just a photo one, but you guys will get the idea of how to do this. Let me scroll here. All right, so I need the screen. The screen's okay. Okay, so if you're on this calculator to type in a fraction like 12 over 18, because you want it to simplify 12 over 18. Here's how you type in. First, type in the number 12. So this is how you're going to enter the calculator. So type in the 12. 12, okay. Then you're going to hit this little ABC button right there. Okay, it's ABC. It's a fraction button. That's what you need to realize. Now on the screen, when you type it, it should give you something like this, or it should just give you a slash. Which one is it giving you?
The
L backwards out. All right, so that's usually what most calculators do. Then you're going to type in 18. Okay, hit equals. Hey, it's crazy. It will automatically give you the fraction 2/3. Now, does it give you the slash? So it will L. Okay, because it knows to put it into fraction form. It's probably like this, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you ever want to change it back to like a decimal, there is a button on your calculator which is. I wonder if you could just hit the equal button again. Hit the equal sign one more time.
No, just 2/3 again.
Okay, so here's the fraction to decimal button. You have to hit the second key, and then hit this little button here. And you might have to hit equals. So, again, if you have a fraction to calculate, you hit the little second key. You type in, you hit the PRT button, the equal sign, and it will give you what 2/3 is. It's 0.6 repeating over and over and over. Now, if you're calculating the very end, did it put a 7 at the very back? The 7's not technically good. It's rounding up because it 6's go forever and it doesn't know how to compute. It rounds the last number up. So it's actually not correct. But that's how you do it. This is your little idea of how this works. Now, if you type in a decimal in your calculator, so clear it out, so hit the clear button. All right, type in 0.0125. Okay, so you got that decimal line. Hit equals. So now it's got like 0.0125, right? If you want to change that back to a fraction on a calculator, hit the little second key, hit the little PRB button, and hit equals. 1 over what? 80. There you go. It knows how to change decimals to fractions, fractions to decimals. And that's this little button here. If you look above it, it says F to D. That's fraction to decimal or decimal to fraction. Okay, but the main key that you need to realize is this little guy. That's your fraction button. That's what a lot of people don't know. It can actually simplify fractions for you. So I'd like you to try that 20 over 35. So try that one right there. So type in the 20, the little ABC button, hit the little 35, and hit equals. And boom, it should spit out 4 sevenths. Correct? I want you to get used to technology. Technology is supposed to help you with this, right? You never want you to be caught in that pickle where you're like, God, I don't know how to take in a fraction. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what the buttons hit. They're basically the same button in every calculator. Now, even if you don't have this little Texas Instrument one, if you have, I said a Casio, like I have a couple Casio calculators in my desk. Where is that picture at? Let's see, here it is. Okay, so here's the little Casio. Alright, so here's a little Casio. This thing has the same thing. It has a little ABC button. So like on this calculator, because it's a little cheaper one that has a little solar panel on the top, you have an 18, or sorry, 12, you hit the little ABC button, you hit the 18, hit the equals key. So the ABC button is just almost right next to what you are. If you want to change it from decimals to fractions, or backwards and forwards, I don't know if this one can handle that. Has a rate to P, I don't see a fraction of a decimal button. You may not be able to. I wonder if you just hit this button a couple different times to give you decimals. And now some calculators do that. You just hit the fraction key one more time, and it'll just give you the decimals. Or hit equals and give you the decimal versus fraction. So, all right, now if we have a bigger calculator. So we have, let's say, let's see, this little guy. This is the predecessor to the calculator you have in your hand. This used to be what we used to own. This one. Problem is with this one, if you look, it doesn't look like the ABC button's up here. It's down there. You have to look around. It's the same type of key. Do the same thing with 12. The ABC button hit 18. Hit equals. It spit out your fraction, and it would actually simplify. It would actually show a fraction on the screen. And if you want to like change it to fractions and decimals, the little FD button's down here, so you have to hit the second key and then hit this button to change it to decimals versus fractions. You go backwards and forwards. So a lot of people don't know that. So that used to be what we used to have. Now, here's the problem. Cell phones, or even these big monstrosities. Let me show you this guy. This is the calculator that we use for calculus and pre-calc. This monstrosity, when you look at it, doesn't have an ABC button. Doesn't have one. That's a $140 calculator. Doesn't have a fraction and decimal key, or fraction key at all. So the trick on these is you'll eventually learn this. You type in 12, instead of trying to find and hunt and peck for the fraction button, which it does not have, you just use the division key. Because that's what fractions are, right? That's the definition I gave you today. You hit the fraction, or you hit the division sign, you hit 18, you hit equals, it'll give you the decimal on your screen, because it's just taking 12 divided by 18. But under this math menu, if you hit the little math button, it'll say change to fraction, and you hit yes, and it'll change it back to a fraction. It doesn't actually have a fraction key, you have to kind of cheat it a little bit, which is unfortunate. That's a $140 calculator. The calculator you have in front of you is like $12, $15 calculator. It can do it. This one can't. Cell phones cannot do fractions. They just can't. They're not programmed to. I don't know why. Doesn't matter if you turn your phone sideways and gives you that secondary menu. It cannot handle fractions. It just can't do it. It can only give you decimals straight up. So I just want you to know that. I want you to be comfortable with this type of thing. Not so you can just do everything on a calculator. Don't get me wrong. But it's definitely a nice help if you're double checking answers. Did I do it right? Am I getting the right numbers? Like maybe you're doing this by hand, like I'm showing you. Like, God, is that right? I'm not sure. Now you have to type it. You can use it. Okay, Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. It's all I'm going to show you today. That's very easy. I just want to show you kind of how to simplify stuff. We'll practice this more on Monday. But again, reminder, don't rely on the calculator to do everything for you. Okay? All right, we'll take those back here in a second. And remember, today is the last day. If you have any late work for me, any homework that you need to turn in, stuff, make sure that gets turned in. Okay? It's the last day because after today I go crazy. So, and then Monday we'll look at your test scores.
This is all right. Is that an iPad? Yeah, iPad service? No.
That?
Yeah.
That's an actual MacBook. Yeah, it's the brand new MacBook. The ones that came out. It's just the Retina MacBook. That's all they call it. It's super thin. It's thinner than the MacBook Airs. Got a 4K screen on it.
So I was like,
It's thin.
how does that have all that technology in it? That's skinny.
Yeah. That calculator or that computer is great for traveling. It is not the powerhouse that you want to use for like gaming. It has no graphics power whatsoever. All the power in that computer is just used for the screen only. I think my iPad that I have at home, the iPad Pro, the big one, it has more power than it.
Yeah. And I was like, if it can run like crazy stuff on that, then I'd have to buy it.
Yeah. The new MacBooks that come out next Thursday, Apple's having an announcement on Thursday, those are going to be the new Mac Pros and the MacBook Pro. I won't get one, but I'll definitely be interested at some point down the road for video editing and stuff. Already got it. Drop it before in front of you.